formación, información, difusión. Va a ser complementaria probablemente en muchos aspectos a la de ayer. Y a mí en este momento solamente me toca dar paso y presentar a una de las dos personas que ha formado parte del comité científico que ha hecho la selección de los trabajos y ha ayudado componiendo las bases teóricas del Congreso. Se trata de Margherita Sani. Margherita Sani es una profesional de los museos, principalmente de los bienes culturales. Trabaja en Bolonia, es licenciada en Literatura y Filosofía por su universidad y máster en Museos y Galerías. Desde 1985 trabaja en el Instituto de Beni Culturali de Bolonia, en Emilia-Romagna, donde está encargada de proyectos internacionales y en particular los relativos a educación en museos, educación permanente y diálogo intercultural. En los últimos 15 años ha diseñado y gestionado diversos proyectos internacionales para la Unión Europea, reseña algún informe particularmente importante sobre la gobernanza del patrimonio cultural y ha liderado proyectos del Learning Museum Network, que reúne a 85 organizaciones en España, mundialmente en Europa y en Iberoamérica. Margherita es una de las personas que ha impulsado o que ha sido capaz de incrustar de la mejor manera posible el tema de la participación en el Congreso. Le tengo que dar las gracias, evidentemente, por todo el apoyo y por toda la capacidad teórica y de trabajo que tiene. Y bueno, espero que disfrutemos todos de esta jornada.
Buenos días. Thank you very much, Mario. I would like to thank the organizers, not only for having invited me to this conference, but especially for having involved me in the preparation of the conference from the very beginning, nearly 2 years ago, when Mario called me and we started discussing how the subject participation could be included into this very rich conference of 3 days. As Mario mentioned, I work at the Institute of Cultural Heritage in Emilia-Romagna, so it's a regional institute in Italy. Last year, I was asked by the expert group on cultural policies to prepare a document, a policy paper, and a mapping of good practices for the European Commission, actually for DG Culture and Education, on participatory governance of cultural heritage. And you can find now a short version of it on the online on the Social Observatory of the CAIXA, and it's in fact in English, Spanish, and Catalan. So if you're interested in the subject, you can go there and find some more information, including the reference to the most important documents which have been issued by the European Commission, the Council of Europe, and especially the Faro Convention on the value of cultural heritage for society. There are many documents which have been, in fact, delivered recently on this subject. The Faro Convention points out the centrality of people at the center, participation as a people-centered approach, the concept of heritage community, so the community which identifies itself with heritage and recognizes its value. And the theme of value came up once and again yesterday in our conversation, because heritage is such only if there is a community that recognizes the value, especially when we're talking about intangible or living heritage. You have to have a community which keeps this heritage alive. So just before I introduce our keynote speaker this morning, a couple of questions of why this subject is so central in the European debate nowadays. Well, in the different documents, it is said that people's participation contributes to a greater sense of ownership of heritage. Heritage is a common good. It belongs to everyone. So we all should feel entitled to use it, but also should feel the duty to care for it. If we identify with heritage, we can contribute to its sustainability. And again, the word sustainability in all these different senses, in all its different meanings came up again and again yesterday. Involvement of citizens also in the management of heritage, because the issue, the focus is on the participatory governance of heritage, promotes quality of life and well-being. But one thing I would like to point out, that we should never think that the involvement of citizens should make up for lack of funding. This is something which also came up in the last years. With limited resources, one thing that involving communities means that there are less monies required out of the public purse. This is not the case. Participatory projects cost. Very seldom a project can become self-funded, so there's always a need of public money or of money coming from other sources like foundations or other actors. So, having said this, that participation doesn't mean that the public authorities release the control of heritage. I would like to introduce our keynote speaker this morning. Mark O'Neill. Mark has been Director of Policy and Research for Glasgow Life since 2009. And before that, he was head of Glasgow Museums. Mark, well, the first time I met Mark, he was speaking about the different models his philosophy also with regard to museums, and the different models that can be identified when running museums. Briefly, there's the elite model, which puts the collections at the center, so it's a very elitist, collections first, art for the art's sake. The welfare model, which adds on to this, to an elitist core, some other services like education, marketing, and so on, and then the model that he calls social justice, which means that cultural institutions and museums have to contribute to rectify the injustices of society. So they have to make a stand and in a way be really attentive to the needs of the citizens, of the population, and therefore the focus on the public has to be important, not only for those who do outreach activities or education, but for everyone in the organization. So, in fact, since then, Mark has been to me a champion in participation. This is what he tried to transfer in his work in Glasgow. And we will be talking about that and other issues. He will then be followed by Daniel Fernandez Carecedo, who will speak about the architecture and participation in the Swedish social democracy, the Arsta Centrum by the Olsen brothers, and followed by Jorge León Casero, neoliberal totalitarianism in urban participation, and finally Sue Ironside, also from Glasgow Museums, talking about participation, pride, and civic heritage. But now, Mark, the floor is yours.